Hello everyone, this is ponderonweather coming at you with another update. In this update, we're going to be talking about the upcoming dynamic pattern as March comes in like a lion. So before I do get started, if you do like weather-related content, please subscribe to my channel as I will upload daily updates to keep you ahead of the storm. And I do ask you to share this video with your friends and family on social media. All right, so let's get started. Let's start off with the latest U.S. drought index to kind of give you an idea of where we stand at the moment. Whereas, as you can see the graph here at the bottom, down here in the darker shaded red, man, you got exceptional drought for much of the desert Southwest, and predominantly the western part has been predominantly dry. The only area is far north Pacific where they've had that atmospheric river up here in Washington and parts of Oregon. But out here going to the central part of the U.S. and especially into the southeast, going to the northeast, they're fairly normal with just splotches of slightly below average precipitation. So looking at the latest CFS V2 guidance of the La Nina to kind of give you an update on what's happening there, we're definitely in a weak La Nina, and that looks to continue through spring and going into a summer. I mean, you can definitely see here the graph here. It's basically a weak La Nina now, and that continues through March, April, and May. And you can see definitely the colder waters in the equatorial Pacific. But as we kind of trend into the summer, it's actually dipping down back to more of a moderate La Nina, and that could imply a little bit hotter summer coming up for us during summer. And then look at this. I mean, it still looks to continue in deepening of the La Nina, and that would definitely imply a much above average hurricane season as well. So we're definitely looking at an above average severe weather season, and we're probably looking at a hotter summer. And unfortunately, we're probably looking for another active hurricane season with this moderate La Nina in place. You can definitely see the waters trending colder in the equatorial Pacific. That would enhance the Atlantic basin for hurricane activity. So let's take a look at the next 5 days. This is the 23rd. This puts you through the 28th of the anomalies of what's happening over the next 5 days. You can definitely see we have a dramatic rebound into the south with some, above average temperatures going forward. And now with the P&A going negative, we see those below average anomalies in the Pacific Northwest into Washington and Oregon. That trends into Idaho and Wyoming and going into Colorado, where they're going to be picking up an ample amount of snow going forward as we get into March. But yeah, over the next 5 days, we highlighted this area that we already talked about in previous videos of starting basically around Thursday from the Dallas-Fort Worth area all the way through Arkansas, Tennessee, parts of Mississippi, getting into Kentucky and West Virginia. They're going to be picking up some ample amount of rain and possibly flooding rains over the next 5 days, and definitely the heavier snows continue in the Pacific Northwest with that atmospheric river. And then we have above average temperatures in parts of Alaska here for the next 5 days. So let's kind of take a look at what's happening going forward. So this is the vertical velocity index of the 500 millibar on February 28th on Sunday. So this kind of sets the stage. You can definitely see we're going to be getting into a much more active pattern. We have the southwest winds. We have warmer Gulf moisture. We transition into March. That really starts to imply going into, severe weather season for March, April, and May. And by February the 28th on Sunday is no different. We see a developing trough digging into parts of the west. Now, out ahead of it, we got warm air out ahead of it. And look at the stream. Look at the streaming air. You can already, that's why the Climate Prediction Center has already highlighted this area of above average rainfall or heavy rainfall. And back behind this trough, that's where going to be your colder air. So out ahead of it, that's going to be your possibly flooding rain and severe setup. And back behind it it's going to have its own cold core, and that's going to be dragging down some colder air. So I'd look for below normal anomalies out west. And you can definitely see up here, we have another trough in Canada, and that is going to be a very cold core and bringing some Arctic air intruding into the United States as we go into March. But before that, yeah, you can definitely see. I mean, as this system pulls it through, here's the dew points. I mean, these dew points are already starting to creep up into the mid 60s, and by then, yeah, that would be a little bit more favorable environment for possibly severe weather we might be talking about by the time Sunday rolls around, highlighting in portions of Oklahoma, getting into the Red River, Dallas-Fort Worth, possibly into Arkansas, in that area. And the latest GFS model is already kind of highlighted an area to watch by Sunday, the 28th, of possibly wind, hail, and even an isolated tornado threat in parts of the Dallas-Fort Worth area going into or along the Red River, going into Oklahoma, and especially as you go into East Texas, getting into parts of Louisiana and Arkansas. So definitely be on the lookout for that coming up on Sunday. And then you can take a look at the anomalies by Monday, the March 1st. This is where March, comes in like a lion. We've got very Arctic air building up in Canada, and it's a very cold core here. You can see the anomalies from 30 to almost 40 below normal temperatures, and down to the south where they've got that southwest wind they're going to be taking advantage of. That's going to be where your soup is, and your kind of elevated dew points and your heavier rains down here to the south. And that's where back behind it, that's the cold core. So that's going to be bringing in just colder anomalies into parts of the west by the time March 1st rolls around. But you can definitely see for the temperatures, I mean, those temperatures get pretty extreme up in Canada. I mean, we're talking 35 below zero. This is actually air temperature, not wind chill. And some of those colder temperatures will start to creep into North Dakota and get into Minnesota with some below teens for low temperatures coming up on Monday, the March 1st. But yeah, down to the south, I mean, you can definitely see these are low temperatures in the 60s all the way down south. So you can definitely see it turns around in a big way. And where that trough is out here at the west, that's going to be bringing in your colder temperatures. And I think you remain cold as we go into the first week of March. And as we kind of extend the view into your wind chills, you can definitely see this is brutal stuff up here. 56, 57 below zero for wind chills up in Canada, and parts of that creeps down into Minnesota and North Dakota. Some of these get back again 20 below zero wind chills, and it's kind of be a glancing blow because this is a kind of a quick shot for the Northeast, and definitely warm down here at the south. And by Monday, you can definitely see here's what it looks like in the vertical velocity view down here in the south where they've taken advantage of that warmer Gulf air. That's where you're going to see your atmospheric river of moisture with possibly heavier rains, even to severe weather. Again, going into Monday as well, even trending a little bit further south, back behind it again. That's going to be your colder air in this part of Washington and Oregon, get into parts of California, into Nevada, into Arizona, Utah, Idaho, and there's going to be a lot of snow with this as well. So there's going to be a lot of snow on the backside. So you got a warmer air on the front side, colder air on the backside, and we have this Arctic intrusion here that's going to be kind of clipping. You can see the band here. You can kind of see where the Arctic air is going to be traversely, mainly, Wisconsin, get into Michigan, and parts of, Northeast into New England, like New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. Those areas are going to be hit with the very cold temperatures and wind chills. And down to the south, yeah, this would just extend a little bit further then. And by Monday, the 1st, that you could be looking at a severe threat going into the Dixie Alley area of Louisiana, get into Mississippi. So definitely be on the lookout for that coming up. And you can see the temperatures and these extreme anomalies, what we're kind of talking about. here's by Tuesday, you can definitely see this colder temperatures really bottled up into the northeast, going to the Ohio Valley into the northeast with these colder anomalies. And some of these get pretty extreme again to, 20 and 30 below normal temperatures. Out ahead of it, you got warm Gulf moisture, and then back behind it where the troughs are going to set up out west. That's going to be your colder anomaly temperatures. And you can definitely see, as far as temperatures go, you can see where the colder air is going to be. Besides the anomalies, these are actual temperatures into the teens, into Minnesota, and to Wisconsin, and to Michigan, and getting back down to nothing like you had, but definitely a colder shot moving in. You can see where, you got a lot of roller coaster temperatures way down south. You're talking, 60s down to the south, and, below zero up to the north. So you always get pretty extreme temperature contrast as you go into March, because this is transition month as we fade out of winter, as we start into severe weather season. So historically, you're warmer to the south and colder to the north. And you do have some cold shots come in every now and then. They're able to make it all the way down to the deep south. But as you get into the second, that's not going to happen, because we have definitely a southwest flow coming in, and that just amplifies as you go extending into the first week of March. And some of these wind chills are getting dangerously cold again. So for the first and second, these are pretty extreme anomalies of getting, 20 to 30 below zero wind chills. So definitely be on the lookout for that, for a frostbite, less than 20 minutes and into those areas. But back behind it, even going into Wednesday the 3rd, again, we have a very active pattern that still continues. We've got another developing cold core in the 500 millibar. This is what you would look at in the upper levels. So this is what's up in the upper levels. And again, back behind it, you got your cold core diving in out west, and you got warm intrusion coming in from the south. And as this continues moving across, these will just amplify the dew points. So that first round of rain kind of lays the groundwork. It moistens up all the soil. And as that next system comes in, the groundwork is already laid. So as the southwest winds pulls in that Gulf moisture, it's increasing the water vapor. It's able to rise a little bit higher. The dew points are able to creep a little bit further north. And this just extends now into Oklahoma, into Kansas, into Arkansas, into Missouri, with some of your elevated dew points. And that will just keep extending as these systems come across, and your colder air is going to be set up into the western part of the U.S. here. And you can definitely see by the Climate Prediction Center, even by the 2nd through the 4th. I mean, we had the same area between the 25th and the 31st. Again, they're already highlighting the exact same area, from the Dallas-Fort Worth area to portions of Louisiana, into Arkansas, into Mississippi, and Alabama, into Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, parts of Indiana and Illinois. This same area that got hit with ice and snow and ice and everything else is going to be hit with flooding rains coming up over the next 8 days, potentially starting really on Thursday this week. And that just extends all the way through the first couple days of March. So there's a lot of rain coming in for that region of the country. And yeah, by Thursday, that trend continues. I mean, here's your cold core again. So back behind it, you got your cold air back behind it. This just elevates a little bit further north now, so that as these dew points will be able to creep a little bit further north, that brings the snow line, again, a little bit further north as we go into March 4th time frame. And you can definitely see the anomalies by then, right? I mean, it brings the warmer anomalies all the way a little bit further and further north. Cold air back behind it. It drags the cold core even deeper down into Nevada, get into portions of California. And these are anomalies. I mean, 20, 30 below normal anomalies creeping all the way down into Arizona and to New Mexico, parts of Colorado. So this area is going to be hit with your colder temperatures and heavier snowfalls. And that's pretty much verbatim. I mean, Colorado in March is your snowiest month. So this is pretty much right on schedule. In these areas that predominantly have some of your heavier snows in March, this month is not going to be any different as well. You know, Idaho and all portions of Nevada and Utah, I do expect heavier snows over the next week in that part of the country. And again, even by Monday the 8th, that pattern just continues. This is a long ways, but you can definitely see this pattern just not set up over the next week or two. As we would have another developing cold core dragging in cold air behind it, warm air out ahead of it, and just increases the rain activity. And again, possibly severe weather threat as it continues to remain active. And even the dew points, again, you can see it just keeps extending. As we extend in time, these dew points creep a little bit further north every single time we look at this. And now we got the 60s taking up pretty much a good chunk of the south, and then 40s and 50 dew points even going into the Ohio Valley again. So that definitely implies there's going to be a lot of rain in this area between now and say March the 8th. I mean, this is a ways out, but just kind of gives you an idea of what is going to be coming up on the table. I mean, we're talking flooding rains anywhere from Dallas-Fort Worth to Louisiana, to Arkansas. I mean, these areas could pick up easily 6 inches, if not more, isolated 10-inch amounts in these areas, over the 10-day time span. But definitely, 3, 4, 5 inches is not out of the question for a good chunk of the country. And all this out west is a lot of this is gonna be snowfall. So as look at the snowfall map. I mean, this would be your snow line with that Arctic air coming in on the 1st and the 2nd, but that kind of subsides. And as we get that southwest flow, this would just creep further and further north. And so instead of snowfall, a lot of this would be just rain with no snow for the south and the southeast and much of the Ohio Valley. All your heavier snows now are going to be well out west into the Pacific Northwest, Washington, Oregon, northern parts of California, Nevada, Arizona, Utah, Colorado is going to get nailed. Idaho, Wyoming, these areas are going to be picking up anywhere from 1 to 2 feet easily over the next week in this area, where they've got trough after trough coming across over the next, every several days, pulling in colder air behind it, and out ahead of it, you got warmer air, and your colder Arctic intrusion is trapped well to the north, out up in the northeast. So I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video. Thanks for hanging out with me, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel to catch the latest update where I protect you before and after the storm.